The BMW Urban GS is ready for adventure. Kind of. There's still a lot to figure out with this bike, including luggage and gear and accessories. And the biggest question I've got, and that you've probably got as well, is can this bike survive Uluru? In my last video, I revealed that I went with the old heart and chose a 2022 BMW nineT Urban GS for my daily rider and for this big trip going to Uluru at the end of March. But the question still remains, following your heart, is that a smart decision, especially with a 14-day trip to the heart of Australia? Will this bike even make it? Can it even handle a proper Australian adventure? In this box is some stuff to help me out to get to Uluru, because there are a lot of compromises that I haven't really gone into detail on this bike, but you can probably guess from just looking at the thing. One of those is the seat. It's very pretty, but it's also very uncomfortable. So the first thing I did before I even picked up the bike was get myself a few choice accessories. Now this isn't everything, I've got a long way to go, but this is a good start. So I've got myself a new seat. As you can see, this thing is from Unit Garage, paid with my own money, no sponsorship here. I just really like the fact that they balance looks here. I think this looks really nice as I faff with the plastic here. I think they've really kept with the original design. I love the ribbing here too for a little extra grip. But importantly, this is far more comfortable than the stock seat. The other added benefit that you might not think about with a seat is that the seat on that is quite thin and this is a little thicker. This should help get me a little more leg room. Just as I undo this, I'll show you what the owner did here. One of those nice things of getting a bike that you can tell has been set up by a bloke or a lady who really knows what they're doing is the BMW setup to get this seat off. You need this special little key. It's like a star key and it's quite a dicky little thing. Now this is a nice little upgrade. I'll come over and show it to you. This you can actually get your hands on. You don't need a special key. You can see the thread. It's got a rubber washer and some lock washers there too, some compression washers, so it doesn't rattle itself out. And it just makes getting the seat on and off so much easier. And that is just the little mods on this bike. When I had a look over it, when I test rode it, I thought, you know what? Whoever's had this before knows what they're doing, and it gave me a little more confidence. And you can see just from the difference here how much thicker this is, particularly right where your butt is. So if I swing a leg over, I can tell you immediately it's firmer and it's significantly taller. So if I put my legs up, I've got more leg room immediately, which is also nice. So I think feeling wise, it's definitely firmer, but it's not a bad firm. If things go to poo and this seat isn't much of an improvement, I will just chuck on the good old Airhawk. This one's quite old, but it served me well for years and it's got me out of a bind when I've had a bike with a bad seat and I just haven't been able to upgrade it. So this will save me if this does not, but so far it's looking like it was money well spent. So this is my rear rack. I've got a little bit extra to bolt up in there. It's floating around in here somewhere. This little piece goes on here. But this should really help. A good top rack really unlocks what you can mount to a bike. So I think this is going to save my bacon in a big, big way. And you can see why the seat and the top rack were kind of my first two ports of call. As I think on any bike, those are kind of the two major things that are going to make or break a big adventure trip. If you could only fix a couple of things on your bike, those would probably be the things to start with. Now the next thing on the list are these two bar risers, also from Unit Garage, and you can see, hopefully you can see on there, that these are swept back a bit. So not only do they lift the bars higher than the current bar risers that are fitted to the bike, but they also bring them back, which should give me a bit more of a relaxed, neutral standpoint, more akin to an adventure bike. At the moment, it's kind of adventure sport. It isn't too bad, but it is a little bit sporty. It hasn't been a problem yet for my arms and my wrists, but I am wondering, I've only done 2 to 3 hour rides. So if I'm doing 5 to 7 hour rides, will that become a problem? So I thought I'd better get ahead of the problem. So here you can see that's the current bar riser height, and you can see just the significance there. This is kind of the same height as the standard mount and the bar risers combined. And when this is mounted, you've got to remember I've still got this to go on top. So I think I'll be able to get a little bit more sweep back and maybe a few more mils out of that as well, because you can see there's quite a height difference there. So looking forward to getting those fitted and seeing how it goes. But let's talk about the luggage itself. So I really boiled it down to two options here. Either I'm going to kit the whole bike out in SW Motec stuff, because they basically make everything for this bike. It's absolutely fantastic. They've got a tank bag that fits perfectly. With the back here is just going all SW Motec Legends gear as well. I'm also going to have to use one of their duffel bags because the Legends gear stuff isn't the biggest with 13-litre panniers. 25-litre tail bag. I'm going to need additional storage, but I calculated everything up just over 80 litres, which is enough for me. I can pack pretty damn light. Now, second option, which also really appeals to me, Nelson at Adventure On Store was really nice to send me out these two little 12-litre panniers for when I get my dual sport, which will be coming up further on in the year once I get back from the trip. But I just thought, you know what, I'll just put these panniers on the Urban GS and see how they fit. And they fit really nicely. Now, what I am worried about is scuffing and rubbing, because without pannier racks, it does rest up against the frame. And done this in the past is I could just use some painter's tape or protective tape to protect the regions where contact does come into place. They are only 12 litres, so that really isn't much to work with, especially on a big adventure tour. But I'm really interested in the Nelson Rig duffel bag that they've just released, the Hurricane series. They've actually got kind of a semi-molly system on them and lots of different mounting angles. It really appeals to me. I love duffel bags. So a big 40 litre about here would be fantastic. Then I've got a little bit of space for more with my top rack. So I think I could go maybe a little 10 litre duffel on the back. But those are really my two options that I'm balancing between. Both of them all up is 80 plus litres. That's not including the tank bag. So with the tank bag, I'm almost at 90 litres. Moving forward, I will let you know when I've sorted the luggage. It's just very up in the air at the moment, trying to really figure out, test different systems. I've got a lot of existing bags as well, so I've got to test a lot of stuff, kind of find out for myself what works best, given that this is such a new motorbike. Only thing I've really set my heart on is definitely I'll have an SW Motec tank bag up front, because I want it off this pretty paint, because I'm very precious about this girl already. I love it. Let's talk about tires as well. That is always important on an adventure, because you're always trying to balance between road performance and off-road performance. And it's no different here. The only difference for me really is I find myself in this odd scenario where I'm having to prioritize road performance more than I am off-road performance. Now, I've talked about the reasons why. This is just predominantly an adventure tour with mostly road-based riding. So what does that dictate tires-wise? Well, the tires on this are Bridgestone Battle Axe Adventures, and I'd say the only adventurous thing about them is the letters on the tire that make the word. They're really not adventure tires at all. You've seen short little clips of me riding a dirt road or two. It was acceptable, but it's only because I've been riding in the dirt for a very long time. They certainly didn't give me any confidence. So I think what I'll be upgrading to is a set of Pirelli STR tires. They're pretty decent on the road. I mean, they're almost as good as a road tire. But when you hit the dirt, they've just got a little bit of dirt capability. I certainly wouldn't be confident taking these properly off-road, but for dirt roads and maybe a little bit of tricky twin track just to get to a choice campsite, I think they're going to do the job. Other options, if I wanted to go a little more dirt focused, maybe the Metzeler Karoo 4s. They're a tire that I quite liked. They were on the KTM 390 Enduro, and I was surprised how good they were in the dirt considering how good they were on the road. The other one on my mind that I definitely could flick over to at some point is the TKC 70s with the TK70 Rock at the back, so that's a slightly more aggressive rear. That's also a really nice setup, very similar in capability and performance to the Pirelli STR Rallies. So those are the three choices, but with the Pirelli STRs a clear favorite at the moment. Suspension. Here's one that is easy at the front and not too hard at the back to sort out. The suspension on this, look, it isn't that great. It certainly isn't highly competent like a general adventure bike. That's mainly because the front, you've only got about 125 millimeters to work with, which really isn't much. And then on top of that, there's no adjustment in the shocks at the front either. So for better or worse, that means I just don't have to worry about it. It is what it is. I'm not going to upgrade before the trip. I just don't have the money to do so. Now the rear is a little bit better of a case and is the one that really matters. And this also helped my decision somewhat in this bike being manageable for this trip. I wouldn't say perfect, but the suspension is manageable. So you've got 140 mil of travel at the rear, so a little bit more. So that's a plus. It also has rebound damping as well. So that is something that perhaps I can adjust when I take it into the shop, talk about how much gear I'm going to be taking, and perhaps they can fine tune it a bit. So I think with the rebound damping, the remote preload, and that extra travel, the suspension is going to cope. I'm not a heavy guy either. I'm only 80 kilos, so I'm not taxing the suspension either. So I think it's going to be okay. Let's see how much I'm smiling 5 days into the trip with my bones shaken to dust. Now, a big tour like this, and if you live in Australia, or even if you don't, we're known for having some pretty remote places. So one of the things that really helped convince me with this bike over, say, a standard adventure bike is this has a bigger tank, and I don't know how the hell this is possible, but it's got a bigger tank on it than the F800 and the F900 GS, and about the same range. So this has got 17 litres. Generally speaking, the tank is going to be able to do its job by itself. So what's my plan if I do run out of fuel? Because there are a few stretches that are creeping up to 500 kilometers, and there's no way I'm making that on this tank. And this will be no surprise to many of you. I'm just going to be taking a fuel bladder. This is the Adventure Works 1 8-litre fuel bladder, which will be right on the money. That'll get me to about, say, 450 kilometers, thereabouts. I probably will also just take this. I know it's a little redundant in some ways to take 2 fuel sources, but this little thing that's been on the back of all of the dual sports you've seen me riding. Worst case scenario, my mate's got a 1300 GSA. I'll just pilfer some out of his huge 30-litre tank. It's good to have mates with appropriate bikes for the trip. Bash plate. Definitely need one of those. This is a low-slung bike by adventure bike standards, so that belly is closer to the ground than I would really like in an off-road setting. So having a bash plate there will be extra confidence. Is it necessary to get a guard for the oil cooler? I kind of feel like yes, it is. And thank you to the handful of people that have actually sent through emails of pictures of their bike setups with the Urban GS. That was fantastic to see and get an idea of what this bike is capable of. Don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one.